Whoa.
Hey, it's Noble Hill.
It's Noble Hill. Whoa.
I found this picture in an antique store with a note written on it. The note told a small story by itself. The little note on her picture made me want to take her home and find out more about her. If you've ever seen an old photo somewhere and wondered what happened to them, you are not alone. In this video, we're going to find out what happened to Mary Ethel Nesbitt, and we're going to figure out who wrote the note. So stick around.
And this journey begins at Old Grapevine Antiques in Shelbyville, Tennessee. We spent a couple hours in there browsing the collection of its owners. And usually a store this big would be considered a mall, where several different renters have booths that sell their own collections.
But no. Everything in this warehouse belonged to one couple, Connie and Eddie Murray. We picked up a few knickknacks for our kids and this antique cast iron Dutch oven. But what really blew us away was a room full of pictures and postcards. After a few minutes of digging, I found Ethel.
I think pictures with notes like these are especially fun because they already give you a little bit of insight to what that person was like. Because the person who wrote this note knew Ethel, and she was able to say just a little bit about her. And it's sometimes nice to skip a little of the detective work because there's enough clues on here to where you don't even really have to try all that hard. And that's kind of nice sometimes.
The note says, "My aunt, Ethel Nesbitt, died at age 31. Never married. So sad for all of us. I was 17. Had graduated from high school. She lived in Beech Grove with her parents. My parents and I lived in Murfreesboro. $10.
$10.
Whoever wrote this on her picture cared enough to do it. They wanted to preserve Ethel's memory, at least within their own family, because she didn't seem to have anyone else who would."
I used Ancestry to get started, and there's plenty to go on here, so it wasn't too tricky. We have her full name, hometown, and age at her death. It's pretty easy. I created a new family tree and plugged in what we had. The note says that she lived in Beech Grove, which is a small town in Coffee County, Tennessee. And if that sounds familiar, it's probably because you're familiar with Bonnaroo. Because Bonnaroo, the big giant music festival, is held in Manchester, Tennessee every year, which is also Coffee County.
I also met the very friendly sheriff of Coffee County last winter when I got stuck in the ice with my kids going to see a frozen waterfall. Really nice guy.
Shout out to the Coffee County Sheriff's Department. The first result we get is her Find a Grave record. And if you've seen my other videos, you'll know this is a huge and free resource that is based purely on volunteers who gather information for and from cemeteries. Ethel's memorial profile not only has a picture of her gravestone, but there are two more photos. One is her obituary, and the other is her death certificate. And her obituary is written in a way that you don't normally see very often. The wording is very thoughtful, almost artistic, like a poem.
I'll read it out loud for the folks that are listening but not watching. On Sunday morning, November 2nd, 1924, just as the sun was peeping over the hills and the trees were waving their different colored banners in the morning breeze, and the birds were just waking into their sweetest songs, the soul of Mary Ethel Nesbitt slipped from its pain-racked temple of clay in through the opal gates of heaven to be owned and crowned by her Savior and join in the sweet songs of the angels. Ethel was a sunny Christian character. She flitted in and out among her friends like a bright butterfly, scattering sunshine where she went. She entwined her charming personality around their hearts like the proverbial ivy. Ethel's memory will never be green in the community where she was born, lived, and died. Ethel professed religion at the age of 19 years and joined the Baptist Church. It then goes on to list her service time and family members.
Obituaries like these are super helpful when you're looking for your own family history. This single article gives us so many clues. We know her real first name now, which was Mary, her exact death date, November 2nd, 1924, and that her parents are still alive at the time of her death, William and Narcissa. I found her mom's name a few minutes later while I was researching. If Ethel were your ancestor and you wanted to check church records, well, now you have narrowed your search down quite a bit. There weren't that many Baptist churches in a town the size of Beech Grove in 1924. In fact, I've got a picture of one right here. And actually, if you look at this picture of this old church, there's a few names on it. Colleen, Boyce, Virgil, T. Shepherd, Cairo Hill. You might could find them on a census in 1930, which would only be 4 years earlier than this, and you might be able to find who they were and how close they lived to Ethel. And one other clue in this obituary is down at the bottom where it's listing her family members. It says, and one niece, Louise Nesbitt. Could this be who wrote the note on this picture?
Ethel's obituary says that she flitted in and out among her friends like a bright butterfly, scattering sunshine wherever she went. This little tidbit can actually be proven. Newspapers often had a kind of gossip section. This entire page is dedicated to little micro articles about people traveling around. These were small towns, and this was a common way to keep up with people's social circles. These stories were usually 1 to 2 sentences just stating someone's travels, and Ethel pops up a lot in these.
And if you have a funny ancestor story that turned up in the newspaper, leave a comment down below. I think those would be fun to read. That's funny.
That's crazy. It's like Facebook for, this was before Facebook, how you can see what everybody was up to.
I almost put something like that in the script because there's so many of them on just these pages. It's like we said, a type of gossip. There's Lewisburg.
Social media of old.
Whoa.
Hey, it's Noble Hill.
It's Noble Hill. Whoa. So we're working on the video right now, and I've got our notes pulled up on the screen, and I've got the Nashville banner from July 8th, 1916, and we're just kind of thumbing through it, seeing if anything jumps out at us, and trying to find where Mary was on this page. But look at this. How cool is this? Over here in Lewisburg, Mr. Earl McNeese and Miss Annie Tillman were married Sunday, Squire Noble Hill performing the ceremony. That's a callback to one of our videos from last summer where we actually found Mr. Noble Hill in an antique store in Spring Hill, Tennessee. And then we had to find where he was buried up in the middle of the woods.
Where we got covered in ticks and poison ivy.
And chiggers. And we got to talk to somebody who knew his family. That's
really cool.
That's funny. I didn't see that before.
Go watch that video.
Miss Ethel Nesbitt and Mr. John Nesbitt of Beech Grove were here. And now we know that.
And War Trace, July 8th, 1916.
Yep.
Ethel was here.
I can just imagine. Yeah, Ethel was here. I can just imagine somebody reading that paper and looking over, someone saying, hey, Ethel was here. And she didn't call.
How you started drama back then.
Yeah, just thumbing through some of those articles, I could definitely see some drama.
It's wild that people were that into other people's business. But I guess...
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I guess they're even worse about it today.
I can't imagine a world where people know everything about what someone else is doing. In 1910, Ethel is 16, and her father, William, is still a farmer. Her mom's name is one you don't really see anymore, Narcissa. Now, this was actually my third great-grandmother's name as well, and I've seen it misspelled about 4 different ways. So if you have an ancestor named Narcissa and you struggle with seeing the name spelled 4, 5, 6 different ways on different records, I feel your pain. Because this Narcissa I saw as Narcissus, Narcissi, and Narcippa. Now between 1910 and 1920, Mary Ethel here is traveling all over that small little area to visit her friends across Wartrace, Manchester, and Bell Buckle. And we love walking in the footsteps of the people that we find and sometimes visiting their gravestones. And we aren't strangers to Bell Buckle. So we made a morning of it. They have 4 antique shops within walking distance and a fun depot area. One of the antique shops is an old bank. We found 2 family photo albums, so be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss the video coming out about those.
Ethel's obituary says she visited her friends a lot, and that's pretty evident in the newspapers. Unfortunately, Ethel contracted tuberculosis. If you've done any sort of family history, then you know exactly how devastating this was across the U.S. TB shows up as consumption on a lot of records. It was highly contagious and ripped through families quickly. Ethel died at 31 on November 2nd, 1924. She was followed in death by her father, William, and her sister, Kate, who both also died in 1925 from tuberculosis. They are buried together at Beech Grove Cemetery.
So now we know quite a bit about Ethel, as much as we can find out about somebody who died at 31 years old in 1924, I suppose. So who wrote the note? The note on the picture says that Ethel was her aunt. We could cheat and read her obituary, but it also wouldn't be too hard to figure it out on our own. Just use a simple tree builder, and we're looking for a niece or nephew who was 17 at the time of Ethel's death in 1924. So we're looking for somebody born around 1907. And there's only one, Mary Louise Nesbitt. She was the daughter of Ethel's oldest brother, Samuel. Louise married Robert Gleaves on June 12, 1927, and lived in Laverne, Tennessee in 1930. They were both school teachers, with Robert becoming the principal. Robert died in 1966, and Louise lived all the way until November 29th, 2001. I'm not sure when she wrote the note on the picture, but one little clue is that it's written in ballpoint pen, which didn't become really popular until the 1950s. So it's fairly safe to assume that whenever she wrote the note, it was after the 1950s. There's no telling after that, but that's one little thing to keep in the back of your mind.
Wow. I didn't know that. Learn something new every day.
Here is Mary Louise's delayed date of birth. I've covered these in a couple of my other videos, but I'll say it again, that these are really nice because they came out after the United States started requiring a birth certificate of everyone. So when folks who were born before that was mandated needed to get on Social Security or claim veterans benefits or whatever, they would have to fill out a delayed birth certificate. And it was kind of a process. You had to have witnesses and documents and whatever else to try to get it through. And there was a section called Abstract of Supporting Evidence. And I thought this one was fun with Mary, where on the very first one, it just says, Howland Family Bible. Date original document was made, old.
Old.
They had no idea how old it was. So if you're in a family like this and you're trying to figure out if or where there's a family Bible, there's a clue for you. You might be able to find the Howlands in your family or find it at the local library if it's been donated or something like that. But that's a fun little clue to find. When she wrote the note, she clearly felt something pretty profound for Ethel. Maybe something along the lines of she wanted to make sure that her memory wasn't completely forgotten just yet. And now I think that a few of us are going to remember her a little bit longer.